Ladies and gentlemen, happy
Thank you very much for that kind introduction. Pro-Chancellor Richard Henry, Professor Travis Waller, distinguished guests, graduating students, and families. Congratulations on graduating from UNSW Sydney today. UNSW Sydney is one of the world's top universities, and particularly from the Faculty of Engineering, home to one of the world's most transformative computer science and engineering faculties and programs. Actually, ever since my first lecture in 2006 at UNSW, this university has actually shaped my life and my career. I have 2 degrees from here: my business, my co-founders, my staff, my investors, and most importantly, I met who was my future wife here, Melissa Rand, who's in the audience today, 11 years ago on campus. So it's both an honor and a privilege to be here with you today to give the officiating address. But to be honest, actually, I'm not sure there's much wisdom I can really share with you that you wouldn't be able to find on a YouTube video, because there are so many wonderful commencement and graduation speeches there. So instead, I have something for you to think about, something that impacts all of us, as engineers, as scientists, as educated citizens. And that is the role of computer scientists and engineers in society today. Who are we? What are our responsibilities? And what impact do we hope to make in the future? The reality is the world has changed significantly. And today, we are on the front line of innovation, building the new economy, creating new industries, solving age-old problems in new ways. That is who we are. When people around us talk about Industry 4.0 and the future of work, they're describing what will be your day jobs. That's what you will achieve. The skills you've developed at UNSW, and that I think you'll refine in the years ahead, will enable you to get some of the most sought-after jobs, build some of the most incredible products and services, and potentially become significantly wealthy. If you accept the advantages, the benefits of being a computer scientist or an engineer, then I hope you are also aware of the challenges, the costs, and the responsibilities that come with it. Because the reality is, of all the great products, all the great technology, all the great things we've built over the years, nothing we've actually built is perfect. The websites we've built, the websites we trust to keep us informed every day, deliver news that's no longer real. The software that connects us to anyone in the world is now starting to tear society apart. The technology being developed for autonomous cars clearly has military applications. The smartphones that improve the quality of our lives are starting to be turned against us to track our every move. The apps that have increased our convenience are also increasing income inequality. It is no longer unreasonable to assume that somewhere in the world an AI is being developed to estimate the likelihood of an individual committing a crime with the intention of arresting them in advance, just like a movie from almost 20 years ago now that we thought was quite science fiction at the time. Or failing that, if that doesn't work, as often is the case with new things that we built, that same AI will probably recommend you a great holiday and cheaper life insurance, if either of those things come to fruition. But all the advances that we have, all positive or negative, aren't actually happening on their own. Someone is writing that software. Someone's building that technology, building that hardware. And soon it's going to be all of you. Are you responsible for the impact that your software, the things you create, actually has on society? In many professions, including for practicing engineers, as many of you, I think, today will become, individuals actually can be responsible for the things they do, for the mistakes they make. If you're negligent, if you don't follow best practices, if you disregard what you know or what you've learned at this university, then you could be found to be complicit in that. And I guess the question for all of us today is really, should software engineers, should engineers in general be held responsible for these sorts of things? Should the software engineers at Boeing, who wrote MCAS for the 737 MAX, be accountable if they didn't follow best practices? If they just relied on trusting other layers of abstraction in the software they built? Or if software engineers at Uber, who developed tools to subvert local laws and avoid detection, should they be responsible for the technology they've built? And in fact, I'm sure many graduates from this university and from many engineering programs around the world are working at these companies. But regardless of the outcome, regardless of what society thinks, as educated citizens, I believe we have a responsibility to do better, to hold ourselves to higher standards, to understand the limits of our abilities and the trade-offs that we are making when we introduce and we create new technology. But it is really the positive influence on society that I think motivates all of us and certainly motivates me. The ability to create something out of nothing, to improve the lives of millions of people, is really what attracted me to software engineering in general. It's what attracted me to UNSW in the first place, and it's actually why I joined Richard Buckman and David Cullian to found Open Learning 7 years ago. At Open Learning, our vision is to increase access to quality education, to improve the lives of people around the world. We provide a platform that enables anyone to design and deliver courses that are more social, more engaging, more constructive than previously possible online. And I'm sure that many of you here have actually taken courses on Open Learning at your time at UNSW, and depending how long you've been here, you would have seen how the technology has improved over the years from the early days. However, the software itself is actually only one part of Open Learning, one part of the company that we've developed. And although you may think that everything relies on a great product, the reality is today, even at Open Learning, only 25% of our employees are actually engineers or computer scientists. We employ marketers, learning designers, managers, financial professionals, customer service staff, and many other types of people. What makes Open Learning work is actually an understanding that we are only part of the solution. No matter how great we think our skills are, no matter how we think, no matter what we think of what we can achieve, we actually exist in an ecosystem. Our ecosystem at Open Learning is made up of universities, academics, students, government, companies, and society at large. We upskill our customers, we collaborate on research, we work to refine our product based on their feedback. Working with so many stakeholders, no matter where it is in the world, no matter which profession, is not easy, but it's truly necessary to make an impact in the world today. You can't do anything on your own. What I've learned along the way is that you can't always build what you want. I think we also have this idea as, sometimes as engineers or computer scientists, that no matter what we want, we are actually capable of building it. No assignment can't be done in a weekend. No technology can't be built in a couple weeks. Everything you see, it seems simple. But the reality is, when you get out into the real world, you don't have the resources to do everything you want. The assumptions you make are often wrong, and sometimes they might be right, but your timing is off. So trade-offs will always have to be made, and trade-offs are part of life. And in many ways, trade-offs, I think, are the essence of engineering. And what makes an engineer is the ability to understand and work around those trade-offs. There's a saying that I'm sure many of you have heard before, which is that anyone can build a bridge that stands, but it takes an engineer to build a bridge that barely stands. And really what that means is that, as engineers, you must understand the trade-offs that you're making to achieve the goal at hand. And you have to work within a set of constraints. They won't likely be perfect, the budget won't be what you want, there'll be greater challenges than you consider. But as you begin your career as an engineer or a scientist, you might find those constraints challenging, or you might discover that the rules change quickly. The things that you thought starting off may no longer be the case. There are new considerations every day. You must adapt to new technologies, but you also must accept the new responsibilities that the world will put on you. You must put theory into practice, work with people across different disciplines and cultures to come up with the next big thing and get it to market. These are great challenges, and most people who try will not succeed. In fact, if you do succeed in the first go, you probably have tried something too easy. One day, you might be asked to join an exciting new project, join a new company. It could be a friend of yours, or it could be some interesting ad that you see online. This new product, this new project that you join, may actually have the promise to save lives. But as a side effect, it may limit people's freedoms. It may harm another country. It may manipulate their views without them knowing. What should you do? That is the question that I want a lot of you to think about as you go out into the world today. What impact is the product you're going to work on going to have? Are you responsible for what it does? And as a professional, only you can decide. You have to be comfortable with the trade-offs you're making, with the side effects of what you build. But how will you make your decision? Everyone has their own way of deciding what to do, what's acceptable to them, what's right and wrong. And no one can tell you what that is. You have to work it out for yourself. You have to work out what you're comfortable doing, what you're comfortable contributing to society, and you have to be able to stand by that and defend it, no matter what happens. In 2008, when I began my internship as a software engineer at Macquarie Group, it was the height of the global financial crisis, and it seemed that there was plenty of blame to go around. Just today, you might want to prepare yourselves because we might be going into a similar time again soon. But in the global financial crisis, it seemed that there was plenty of blame. Banks were lending to people that they shouldn't have. People were taking out loans that they couldn't afford. Complex financial products that only an engineer would understand were being developed and sold. There was surely a crisis, but there was also a loss of faith. Okay, great. I thought it was because I talked about financial institutions. Somebody must be listening. Now I'll pull out the real speech. So, there was a loss of faith at the time in financial institutions. And as an intern, we had a lot of induction events. And during one of those events for new interns at the bank, one of the partners stood up. And he explained a simple rule that he follows whenever he is unsure if he's making the right decision. He said, imagine that your decision is on the front page of the Australian Financial Review. Would you be comfortable with the decision you've made? Would you be able to defend it? Would you stand by it? Over 10 years later, I still actually apply this rule throughout my life in many decisions that I have to make. I always think about what will happen if this decision became public. If my rationale, if my thinking, if the challenges I faced, would I be able to stand up to an audience like you or to the general public and defend what I've done? And that is one of the ways that I try and decide whether these trade-offs are right or wrong. Everyone will have their own way of doing it, and I encourage you to come up with a way that you think makes sense for yourself. But today, congratulations on becoming engineers and scientists, graduates of UNSW Sydney. You have today the skills and the capabilities that almost everyone wants. All around the world, people are desperate for what you have. You have access to amazing opportunities, but you also have a responsibility to act wisely, to understand the trade-offs of the decisions that you'll make over your careers and your life, to embrace diversity of all kinds, and to use your abilities to make a positive impact on society. And I know that your education at UNSW has prepared you for that well, but now I hope you take that, you build upon it, and you decide how you're going to make the decisions that impact the rest of your life and the society at large. Thank you very much.